Hello, I am Enrique Barra and we are going to see single page applications. Well, web technologies has evolved a lot from the very beginning of the web to nowadays. We have for the protocol HTTP, we have the version 1.1, we have HTTPS with secure layer, we have HTTP2, so it has evolved a lot. For JavaScript, we have lately ES6 and ES7, and in the future we will have in fact more. For HTML and CSS, we have the version 5 or HTML that includes a lot of functionalities, and CSS3 with animations and many improvements. The web client, the browser, they have also improved a lot their functionalities and their capacities. They have included these new standards, they have included tabs, many tools, dev development tools, and the possibility to add add-ons and plugins, and many things. And finally, the web servers, they have gone from static to dynamic and connected to databases and with new programming languages that allow to create and to do very efficient things. Well, the history of the web comes from 90s, where we had static pages, just a little JavaScript, very small, just to hide one part or do a small functionality, to Ajax in 2000 or 2002 or whatever, more or less. It is asynchronous JavaScript and XML, and finally in 2010 more or less single page applications. So it evolves from static pages to web applications. Let's see in detail. Static pages, they are very simple, like this one in the far past, like the Yahoo page. The process is the client asks for the page with HTTP, it gets the first HTML, when the server sends in the response this HTML, the client analyzes it and then asks for the rest of the contents, CSS, JavaScript, images, and the rest of the content. So what are the characteristics of this kind of pages? All the logic is in the server, is the one in charge of authentication, of sending the page. All the logic is just a little logic, but it is on the server. They are full, complete pages, and it uses the HTTP protocol, GET and POST. Then it comes Ajax, asynchronous, JavaScript, and XML. Well, very briefly, this is to use JavaScript to communicate with the server to ask for, not for full pages, but for parts of the page, or small chunks of data. Well, the characteristics are that the logic is still on the server, but there is a small part on the client. The client has some intelligence just to know what to request and how to render it. It uses HTTP GET and POST, but also XML HTTP request for this asynchronous interchange of information. Okay? And finally, we've got web applications with this single page applications architecture, where we have everything in the single page. For example, this slide creator or editor, or Gmail, or Google Maps, or many other examples that you can find today. This is all the logic into, almost all the logic into the client. The client gets the page, and in the page there is a lot of JavaScript and a lot of functionality, like this, for example, to start creating or start doing things, and you don't ask for another full page, but you just interchange data using other technologies such as Ajax, as we saw, or WebSockets, or any other. Okay? One important idea here to create single page applications is that manipulating the DOM is quite expensive, so we have to be very careful when developing single page applications. When manipulating the DOM, we don't have to re-render everything, but we will have to optimize and render only what has changed. What is the difference between single page application or multi-page application, and when we have to do a single page application, and when should we create multiple applications, multiple page applications for example, with tabs. Well, there are comparisons. I'll leave you here a couple of links. You can see in Google many comparisons, and each model will have pros and cons. They are for the same purpose, but in fact you will have to choose if you create a single page application, everything in the same page, or you create multiple pages like a full site or a platform or something like that. I invite you to read these kind of comparisons just to see the pros and cons, because you will need to know this if you need to create your next application. You will have to choose between single page application or multiple page application. And of course, they can be combined. For example, you can have multiple tabs, each of them will be a single page application or a static page, very simple, and for example, with games, different games, and each game will be a single page application. You can have like a site this way, combining different applications. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.